It's time again for another episode of the Wrist Cheese Radio podcast, your home for logical hot takes, taboo topics, and often unpopular watch opinions. I'm your host, Brodinky. With me always is my good friend Schmidt. Schmitty, we have made it to episode 90, my friend.
Wow.
90.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
It's been fun. Been fun being with you and them
Yes.
simultaneously.
Don't tell our wives.
Yeah. Like the old like the water boy. Have you been with many women? I was with my mama and Coach Klein last night.
Yeah, that
Classic.
was a yeah, great movie by the way.
Epic. Yeah, so how are things by you, my friend?
Things are good, man. Things are good. Doing the whole homestead life, doing some more yard work, some pool time. So trying to soak up as much summer as I can. I finally feel like I've crossed the threshold of like being the dad status, like when you're outside, just like watering your grass. Just like outside by yourself and your thoughts, just like sprinkling the grass. I'm
I
like, I've achieved peak dad status.
I
Like
did
this is
that
where we are.
last I did that a couple weeks ago. My family was on vacation and we have a sprinkler and everything, but we have pretty fresh sod in the back and it takes a
Yeah.
little extra attention. And so nobody was home except me and I got home from work and it was nighttime, it was evening, I should say. And I just went outside with a beer and started hosing the grass down. And I sent a picture of my wife and I just wrote Hank Hill shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. I mean, that's yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of, I did see there's a King of the Hill reboot coming.
No.
And not only that, it's set in the present. So everybody's older.
Oh God.
Yeah. So this ought to be
No.
hysterical because
I
obviously they're
yeah,
gonna
but is
work in some modern stuff, like a lot of things that weren't around when King of the Hill was first sort of introduced. Like they're gonna involve things like pronouns and stuff, and you can only imagine how that's gonna fly with
oh
Hank Hill. Like
God.
he's such a
Oh God.
traditional, like just overly hyper masculine, like dad type.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you ask for well done, we'll politely ask them to leave, right? Like
Yeah.
so Bobby Hill's like
Propane and
older.
propane
I
accessories.
think they said he owns a restaurant. I thought the guys I was listening to an interview of somebody who said it was coming back, and I was like, wow, this ought to be
My
hysterical. Like
my God.
anything Mike Judge does is like hysterical. Like I watch any of it. Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill, like you name it, I'm in. So
Yeah, but
I'm
King
looking
of the Hill is
forward
a
to it.
classic, and it's almost like one of those things where like I just feel you can't modernize it because I don't want to be like because it was already perfect. I just don't want it to be like a dumpster fire of just modern day culture.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
I
that. I
That's just they say you never want to meet your heroes, right?
true.
It's just like please don't touch it. Please don't destroy another IP like everything else that's going on today.
True. But I always love that show because it didn't need like profanity or anything over the top to be hysterical. It just was, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
And it was
I think you get extra points for that because it's
and
easy to be funny when you're
profane,
profane
yeah,
or you're using
vulgar,
like nudity or like crazy situations that are like very taboo. Yeah,
yeah,
it's easy to
yeah,
get
yeah.
cheap laughs that way. When you're getting like genuine laughs out of stuff like watering your lawn, like that's very funny to me.
Yeah, and it's funny because like having grown up and lived in Texas
Oh,
my
true.
whole life,
Yeah.
this is literally what it's like. It's literally a caricature of everything that exists in the world, and it's true. It is 100% Texas. Now, I will say it's 100% Texas in a very small rural community, but yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I went to the vast reaches of upstate New York. It's not much different.
I mean that's probably you're probably right.
I
You're
was
probably
visiting
right.
a friend up there. I walk out of their house. There's a guy across the street mowing his lawn, and he's got a hat that says "The Lawn Ranger," and he's riding his little tractor, and he was happier than a pig in shit. Let me tell you,
Oh my God. I haven't
hysterical.
reached that peak status where I start going for the Air Pegasus. I haven't gotten there yet. But who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe it'll be the the shin high socks with the Nike Air Pegasus or the Air Monarchs.
Very nice.
Yeah, there you go. That would
Very
be true
nice.
dad status.
Everything is good otherwise.
Yeah, 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 for sure, man. Everything with you? Good?
I had quite a day that I'm glad is over.
Yeah, you were
So
telling me.
Sundays are my Monday, so it starts there. I'm on my
Yeah.
way to work. I got a call from an employee, got in a fight with somebody else, blah, 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 blah. All right, whatever. I'll sort it out when I get there. I won't sort it out when I get there because I'm now sitting in 3 hours of flood traffic. We had a massive torrential downpour on my way to work.
Hmm.
And I guess, I don't know if it must have been a drain. I think one of the drains on the side of the highway clogged up. And it wasn't a very big stretch that was underwater, but just enough that, I mean, both sides, there's a barrier on both sides of you. It was going under an overpass. So it was like a little dip, just enough to pool some water, and it pooled up pretty good. And some sap got their car stuck in it, and after that, got barricaded off. We had to wait 3 hours. Like people are once the rain stopped, you had every moron getting out of their car, filming
Yep.
everything. Like I'm like, this is
So now everybody's
not that
rubbernecking and
exciting.
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it was just stopped. I was right at the front, so it's not even like I could turn around and go back. Like I was right at the front of where they stopped it. I was like, so 3 hours in the car, got to work, pretty pretty tumultuous overall day. And then just to cap it off, I go to leave, and I start the car. I start to pull out, and I hear, but, and I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, I have a
The
flat
dreaded
tire.
sound, the
Let me
dreaded
just let me
sound.
just cap this one off with a
Dun,
cherry.
dun, dun, dun,
I have a
dun, dun,
flat
dun.
tire. So
Yep.
change that in the rain and went home. And I will just do my best to forget this day ever happened.
Yeah. Yikes. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
So that's good. But aside from that, we're here doing the episode thing. Like I said, episode 90, which is crazy. Um,
Yes, it is. The
well, it's
flat
also
tire episode.
yeah, it's also crazy when you think about. I mean, 90 episodes, usually a little over an hour. I mean, that's it, how many days of runtime,
Yeah, it's a lot.
24, 48, 72, right? Like it's you could listen from the beginning to the end. It's going to take you 4 days
Oh
straight,
man.
which is pretty crazy
Yeah.
and or sad.
I don't think it's sad. I
I don't
think
know. I'm
it's
just saying. You think about we committed 4 days of our life to this.
I mean much more than that, it seems like. I mean, if we were to play every episode, yeah, it would be for 4 days, but it's actually a lot more invasive than that, with regards to what we've done. But thank you. It's been fun. Thank you, bro, for having me. That's
you know,
probably been
my
the
pleasure.
best
My
part of
pleasure.
everything. I know this is a lot of people don't know how this started, but some late night texts between bros who had never met on the internet. That's how this started, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
So, anyways, we'll get into what we usually do here. We got some new stuff. A lot of it is sort of kind of off the
Mm,
cuff. A
yeah,
lot of not. I don't want to say not so household names, but no heavy hitters. No,
yeah.
no Rolex, no Omega, no anything like that. I mean, we were pretty heavy for a few weeks there, so understandably, we got a lot of those big boys out of the way, and especially with Only Watch, we got a lot of exciting, kind of sexy things of maybe some sneak peeks of what's to come, like we were talking about the tutor and stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But we'll start with our good friends over at Maurice Lacroix. So they have another, and I don't know if you call. I'm assuming they want this to be pronounced icon
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not the Acon.
because I know, but I just every time I read it, I
I
think
know.
woohoo, yee right, like
Yes,
Akon, right?
exactly. And for those of you who are younger listeners, go listen to Acon. He's pretty good.
No, well, I figured
He's
they
old
would know
school.
that one. He did that. That was with him and Gwen Stefani. I mean,
I mean, I know that, but I mean,
I'm not talking
we
about
might
locked
have some
up.
younger listeners. Maybe they're not familiar. I mean, the world of music changes fast, my friend. If you
I,
ask me today to name the top rap stars that are current, I don't know if I could tell
I'm
them
just
to
gonna
you.
go with I'm gonna start with Lil, and that's it. I guarantee it's a guy with Little on his name.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, man, it's icon. I mean, the icon.
Aha. So they've dropped a limited edition run of icons of 888 pieces. I don't know what the number significance is, but they are very geared towards summer. They are they come in three colors: a pink, a more or less turquoise blue, and an orange. And they sort of distributed them amongst the three sizes that you can get based on who they think is buying it. So
Yeah.
your 35 millimeter you can buy in blue and pink. Your 38 millimeter you can buy in blue and pink, I guess because it's more unisex. And then
Yeah.
your, I think it's 42, you can buy in blue and orange.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they come with the pretty cool integrated rubber strap and also the bracelet, which is very sort of that avant-garde bracelet that kind of reminds you of a Royal Oak situation. But
Yeah, I mean, they know what they're doing.
they know exactly what they're doing. But it's an offering at a price that people can get, and there's something to be said for that, even if
And it's available. So
right, it's available. It is
so it's
available.
not just a price point thing, it's also like an availability thing. And I mean, we've talked about the icon for many episodes over the years, and it's a great little collection. I mean, I'm not a Maurice Lacroix fan myself, but I mean, I can respect that they're doing something cool. They even have skeletonized versions. They have all different types of colorways as well. So this is the summer collection. So you get the light pink, the ice blue, or the baby blue, if you will, and then you get kind of like the signal orange. Um, but cool. I mean, they're 2,500 or so approximately Swiss francs. So expect that similarly priced in USD. But it's nice that you get the combo. That's the other thing too that we often see missing from the integrated strap bracelets. Like you get both in this case,
Yeah, that is nice.
which I think is cool. I mean, you get the OEM stuff. It's 2,500 bucks or so, and you get to swap between steel and rubber, which I think is perfect for summer.
I had liked their tied version of these. I thought those were really fun. A
Yeah, yeah,
little steep, but I think it was like 700 or 800 bucks for
yeah.
the
Because it was like quartz, but it
it
was
was well, it
recycled
was cord. Yeah, I
material,
was gonna
and
say it was a recycled material case. A lot of people were kind of hot and cold on that, but I
yeah,
thought the look of them I thought was really nice, and
yeah.
I thought it was a really good idea. Just hard to pitch on the back of the moon swatch being much much cheaper than that.
100%. I could not agree more with you on that. But I think that they're coming out with some bangers. Like a little while ago, we saw the release of the Pontus Diver again. They kind of refreshed that. That's kind of one of their more popular watches back in the day. So I mean, it's good. They're coming out with some cool stuff. My favorite of all of the Icon series has always been the Icon Divers. We've talked about them before at length, so I don't need to repeat that. But that's kind of like if I was gonna get an Icon today, their Icon Venturer, and they just released one. I guess for this year, I'm looking at the website right now. I guess we missed this, but they released them in 38.
Hmm.
So there's now a new Icon Venture 38 millimeter diver with the integrated steel bracelet, as well as an included rubber diver strap. Not bad for 2270 Swiss francs. So it's actually less than the ones we're talking about right now.
And I will say this, it stinks that Windup has just sort of finished up in Chicago because then somebody could have verified this, but they still might be able to. I will give Maurice Lacroix this. When I went to Windup last year in New York City, walking around, checking out the booths. Let me tell you, they brought the eye candy. They know
Oh, yeah.
exactly what they
They
were
know
doing.
exactly what they're doing.
They know
Yeah.
exactly what they were doing.
Hey, all these watch guys haven't showered in a while, kind of cram into a hot store.
Listen, many of them have never even interacted with a woman. To have this opportunity, they know exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's $2,200. You can take it, right? You can
That's
take it,
pocket
right?
change for somebody like
You
you,
can
right?
you can take it, right?
You can handle anything with
You
that
can
pot.
handle anything you want, baby. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. The good old days. Oh man, that's so funny. I can imagine. Well, how else you're gonna sell $850 recycled plastic timepieces.
That's exactly what they had in front of him. And I was like, let
Mhm.
me go check these out.
I mean, I know. I remember you telling me the story last year, and I thought it was hilarious. So it's kind of funny it came back. But you know what? Good for
Marketing, baby,
good for them. Marketing, sex sells. They've always said it. Sex does so.
especially in hobbies like this one.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, next up, we have a release from Smiths,
Ooh, a brand we
the,
hardly ever talk about.
the people who actually summited Everest. Uh,
Yes. Oh my gosh. One of my favorite stories that gets often so lost to history. Yeah, it wasn't really the Rolex. Rolex was there, but the Smiths actually climbed Everest. But
they hung out at the bottom, like, we're not going up there. What the hell's the matter with you
yeah,
guys?
yeah, it's like we're not trying to die, but the Smiths made it. Okay.
So this isn't an Everest. This is called the Traveler. And so if you're thinking uh, Smith's Everest as the Explorer 1, the Traveler is kind of like the Explorer 2, if you look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's got an
I could see that. It's got the
orange GMT hand. It's
but
got a
it's
little bit of 1655 in it,
yeah, a little bit.
but then you work and it's got the white dial with the orange hand, very polar esque.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely got some cues. We'll just leave it at that. It's got some
Yeah,
cues.
yeah, yeah.
Jubilee bracelet, however,
Yeah, yeah. Jubilee bracelet. You're talking about what looks like a full satin case. 24-hour bezel, true GMT. It's a Miata 9075, so it's a GMT movement. Um, but cool. Syringe style hands. There's a blue version and a black version. It looks like right now the white dial with the blue bezel is sold out. We agreed that was kind of both of our favorite model.
yeah, it's a nice combo.
Um, it's a nice combo and it looks good, especially with the orange. It's 395 pounds, so 395 pounds. That one's currently sold out, but the black dial is still available on the website. And you can pick one up. So also the same price for the other reference. Good looking watch. Nothing too crazy to write home about here. It's 38 millimeters in diameter, 41 if you include the crown. It's a
15 thick. I was gonna
Yeah, it's
say
a
for
little
a
thick. It's
38,
a
that's a
little thick.
little thick. But
But
I don't know how dome that crystal
that's
is
what
though.
I'm thinking that it is. That's what I'm thinking that it is. Because sometimes they're like, we're gonna make it super vintage, and I was like, "Wah, here's a ginormous crystal. You know, okay.
That does happen.
It does
That's
it
why I
does
laughed. That
happen.
does happen.
It does happen. So regardless, I think it's a good looking watch. The price point is fantastic. And I think this will be a cool if they can keep up production, this will be a cool timepiece to have in a kind of true GMT category that's well under $500. I think that would be a nice thing. The only thing that's gonna be challenging for Smiths is can they continue to um, produce the quantities? Because I know being that they're a very small company, they produce runs and then they may not have one until forever. And even on the website, it's indicated that you can only buy one per customer.
Mm.
So it's not like you're going out and buying five and flipping them or whatever.
They should just put not for resale on the dial.
Are we going to talk about that today?
I'm sure we'll get there. You know, it's funny we didn't even
Okay.
mention it in the
We
pre-show.
totally did not mention it. I completely forgot about it. But it was kind of like the biggest news of last week.
That just hit me right back in the face thinking about that.
Oh God, this makes me want to die. Just makes me want to die.
Okay. Up next, we have a release from Laurier. They have a Hydra
Oof,
GMT.
this one. You
Now
know how,
I keep
you know
trying
how
to
I
remember
am.
your qualifications for the diver GMT that you wanted. I can't remember if this one. I mean, it has
This
an
is it.
internal
This is
GMT.
it. This is it. This is it. This is exactly what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
I thought so. I didn't want to jump the gun, but
No, no, no.
I don't want to set you up on the blind date and then you're like, nah, kid.
No, it's perfect. I really do like this watch, and I've been following Laurier for a long time. I've never personally owned one. I know several people that have had them cross their paths, and it's a cool company. Mom and pop type situation, husband and wife team, really making this brand sing, and they're really a big force in the micro space, even though they don't do too many watches. But this one I think is fantastic. We have another Miyota 9075 movement, so this is a true GMT caliber. But what I really love is this is a diver first, and as bro is kind of alluding to, my real classification for these watches is to create a diver's rotating bezel with an internal 24-hour scale. Make it a true diver's watch first before you make it a GMT. Because let's be honest, most people are going to have that GMT set. They're never going to move it. And there's always that one guy that makes the argument, well, you can use the bezel to track a third time zone. Nobody's tracking a third time zone. I'm
You don't have that
sorry.
many friends. You collect
It
watches.
it exactly. But I'm just saying, it's just like even for those people that own GMTs, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They don't ever move the bezel because then it starts to throw off all the numbers and you have to do all the mental math in your head to remember exactly which freaking number you're talking about, which hour zone is corresponding to what. It's insanely difficult, and having it referenced on the bezel just makes it that much more impractical. This is cool because you can travel. Dive watches are typically places you take on sporty applications. You go tropical places. You want somebody that can go with you and you can still track those time zones and especially your time back home, which I think is what is most important here. I love the cushion style case. Kind of reminds me of like a 60s Omega Seamaster 300 a bit, but I really love the vintage cues here. And it's even funny, like I was looking at the 24-hour scale, and it's kind of giving me some of those new like Breitling Super Ocean vibes, like the big chunky
I was
chapter ring.
thinking, yeah, I was thinking with the white chapter ring.
Yeah.
I also got a Breitling vibe out of that.
I mean, but this to me, in my opinion, is executed far better than the Breitling one. It's a little bit more symmetrical to me in my eye.
Well, the Breitling, like you said, it's sort of just chunky and unapologetic in that
Yeah.
respect. Like I think that's what they were going for, but it also just comes off as very like unrefined, like very
Correct. Correct. This is the opposite of that.
yes. So I think this is a little more sleek, where that is very like Neanderthal as far as designs go.
Yeah. Now, if it was a real slow chrono, that would be something different. But no, we get a dive watch out of it. Regardless, the Laurier, I think this Hydra is fantastic. This Hydra's been in their collection for many years now, and I think this is kind of coming into its own design because when I look at this, and I always have to give credit where credit is due. When I look at this color palette, I love it. It's kind of like this smoky gray,
Yeah,
almost like an anthracite color, but you have it mixed with the red and then the white, and it just looks very good. There's obviously some homage aspects here, right? You have the broad arrow handset. You kind of have like the traditional Rolex Submariner diving dial. All of that stuff is fine.
there's a snowflake hand snuck in there.
There's a snowflake hand, and I think it's actually more like a diamond tip
Yeah,
instead of like a
it's a little more angled than
yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah. But it doesn't feel too derivative, and that's one thing that I feel like Laurier does very well in its execution. Is it's obviously inspired. They're not a classical brand; they haven't been around for that long, but every single piece that they make, for the most part, feels inspired, but not too much of a copy. And I can respect that because I know that that's not easy to do, especially when everything has already been done before. You
And
know,
let's face it, when you're making watches in this price point, you only
it's
have your
hard.
pick of so many parts,
100%.
right? Because let's face
100%.
it, I mean, when you're selling watches, again, kind of around this price, you're probably not manufacturing all your own pieces down to your
No, there's no
handset, down to your dial, like
there's no way. It's impossible. It's impossible. And for them to be able to get away with producing cool stuff, and the thing I like about them too is they're not afraid to make like very different pieces. Like they've had their kind of play it safe for a while. Like I know the Neptune was kind of the first one. The Falcon came shortly thereafter. Um, but the
Hydra,
Zephyr,
Hyperion.
yeah, the
I,
Hyperion is cool. That's their GMT. The Astra, which is kind of like their take on like a classic steel sports watch. That kind of like Datejust vibe. But one of my favorite watches that they produce is the Zephyr. And it's like we talked about the kind of the Art Deco style coming back. And you see that in this watch, and it's just so beautiful.
yeah, and the name is
Just
good. The name fits very well because like that was during
so
a
good.
time where that was like a legitimate thing for people, right? Like
Absolutely.
blimps and zephyrs, and people were like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, dude.
this is the future."
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. It's a barrel shaped case and beautifully done dial, very simple, mechanical. And I love how all of their print advertisement that they do on their website looks like original 1950s and 60s advertising. Like whoever is on their design team to do this in house does an incredible job because it really does tell the story. It makes you feel like this is a vintage watch that you're discovering for the first time, and not something that's produced today, which again, no small feat. So shout out to Laurier. Laurier, if you're ever in my area of Texas, hit me up. I would love to meet and go grab a coffee. It'd be cool to talk.
Okay, there you have it. And from one micro to the next, Baltic is giving us a sort of a redo on some watches that they already have released. I think last
Hmm.
time these were a little bit bigger because now they're dropping them in 36 and
Yeah.
a half.
I believe they were 38, I
I want to
think
say
is what they
38,
were.
39 maybe, but you
Yeah.
had the HMS, which was sort of their sector dial,
Yeah.
and then you had a bicompax, which we know was
Mm.
they there was a limited edition, the salmon color that went for a lot of money on the secondary market and stuff like that. But these ones
Yeah.
are a little smaller. You're getting
Yeah.
more of a copper dial is sort of their
Mm.
wild dial. They're also making the blues and the typical
Yeah.
colors,
Yeah.
but
And technically they do call it salmon on the website, but
this looks
it, it,
very copper to me.
it looks copper to me. And we talked about that on the podcast before where
And
like what's salmon, what's copper?
and I don't know if it's the exact same colors they used in the other ones because the other ones are very pink. This one does not look
Yeah.
very pink. This one
Yeah.
looks like it's got much more brown tones to it, which is
Yeah.
cool because
Yeah.
it looks like a really nice copper color, which I'm down for. That's a neat. Every a lot of people like we talked about have said copper, and you're getting a pink metallic tone, which reads a little bit more like salmon
Yep.
to me.
Yep. Yep.
But I mean, they're very clean designs. I've always liked them, and now you're getting them in a smaller package. I think they're just trying to sort of cover their bases and go with the trends and stuff. And as we know, things
Yeah.
have been scaled back a little bit, so we're getting that now, and
Yeah.
got
It's
it.
it's they're good, man. They're really solid. Um, I love them. I really can't say enough about what they've done. As we know, kind of Baltic thrust on to the scene. Um, 2016, 2017 with the Aquascaf, and that was kind of like their first introduction to anything, their first crowd-funded timepiece. Since then, I think the HMS came shortly thereafter, and then subsequently followed by the Chrono version. Um, but I think this is a very attractive looking watch. The official size specifications list at 36.5. The other version, according to the website, was 38. So we were
Okay,
correct on that. So they are producing both on the website, but the dials are going to be different iterations of sector dials, comparatively to the others.
okay,
But what I like the most about these new dials is it just feels a little bit more like there's more character there. Especially because it's giving me like old school like pie pan vibes.
a little
I
bit, yeah.
can't I can't tell if the dial itself is domed, but it's certainly the effect it's giving me when I look at it. But it's gorgeous. And like I was telling you off air, they used to have a really nice handset for the HMS series, but this HMS 03, they kind of broadened the leaf hand style a little bit, making it feel, I don't know, maybe athletic is the word. It just feels more sculpted. It just gives it to me a nicer presence, and it's a little bit more legible. And I like that. I think it makes the watch feel like it's not too delicate. But these new versions, they rock. I really like them, especially that salmon copper, whatever the hell you want to call it. It looks fantastic in
Yeah,
both versions.
call it what you want, but I really like the numerals they use on this. You have sort of like the open sixes
Oh,
and nines
yeah,
look
they're
to
good.
it,
They're good. They're good.
very vintage, and like you said, with the sort of leaf hands, it's just a neat combination. It's not something you're getting from a lot of places, especially right now. I mean, you think about everybody's so caught up in the steel sports look, right? With
Yeah, integrated bracelet and
they all sort of I don't want to say they all have the same handset, but they all have the similar looks to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're getting a mix of some batons and some numerals here, and then on the bicompacts, you're getting the two subdials, which I've always liked the look of the bicompacts because it just seems
Hmm.
very symmetrical and very clean
Yeah,
as
and you
far.
love that size too. I mean,
Yeah, I do, and
let's be honest.
and I'm curious how this will what the build will look like in 36 and a half because that's small for a chronograph, but
Yeah,
I'm down to check it out, and especially there it look I mean these look like there's a decent amount of bezel on them, so that dial's got to be maybe what do you
it's
think,
got to be
33, like 32.
maybe, and it's I think what we're seeing too, because it looks like it's a big bezel, but I think it's a step bezel.
I
I
was gonna
think it
say it
goes
looks like part of
outward
it is
and
the
then it goes
case.
up. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a step. I can see it on the side profile here. So there's definitely a step. So what you're seeing is kind of like a matte finish, which is where it meets like the lugs. And then there's a polished step up, which is the actual bezel ring around the crystal. But they look good. They look really, really, really good. And 36.5, man, that's nuts. Oh, wow. That's a,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, we got a 37 millimeter diver from Tudor this year. Maybe we're seeing a swing back the other way, sort of toward the extreme. Maybe we're bringing back the 35s and 36s of the 50s and 60s.
I mean, that's crazy. Do you think we're ready for that?
I mean, I don't know. Look, in
I
the
mean, because like
in the
38, okay, I get it. I get 38, but I'm like, man,
I mean in the aughts, everything was 44. Maybe it's just a complete swing the other way.
yeah, maybe.
Right? Everything was Panerai, Hublot, you know, uh,
Yeah,
Planet Oceans and
big.
stuff like that. Like everything
Yeah,
was
yeah,
just
big,
big,
burly. Yeah,
right?
big,
So
gnarly. Yeah, but beautiful, beautiful doll design. I mean, really, really good looking, especially in that size. I mean, and honestly, now, like for all of you guys out there who may be getting your partners in the watches, girlfriends, wives, whatever it might be, this is a perfect watch for them. 36.5 millimeters, manual wind chrono. It's a Seagull ST 1901 caliber, so pretty tried and true in the micro brand space, but very good looking watch. And this is something that you could buy comfortably, knowing that you're probably going to steal it. That's the end game, right?
the low
We're
key
all playing.
loner.
We're the low key loner, man. That's exactly what I'm saying. But yeah, this is a very very good looking timepiece. And why try to source yourself out a solid rare party paddock when you can buy something like this. You don't need to be like Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's right. Now, next up, we have one that you said you saw sort of teased at windup this year.
Yes.
Benris, I guess, is harkened back to their old Ultra Deeps. I mean, I guess it was probably ultra deep for the time. Now we would call this a devil diver. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, yeah,
666. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say
Yes.
666-foot diver um probably was considered ultra deep. Now we're looking at an order of magnitude larger than that for ultra deep watches. So um
Yes.
so you saw this guy. Was it the one with the round hands and the dots, or was it stick indices? Because I'm looking at two different vintage ultra deeps here.
I saw okay, it's the one with the compressor style case.
Okay, so I'm looking at
Yeah.
dots.
Dotson and kind of like the weird handset, not the H case version.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I don't know how you describe them. They look kind of like fountain pen hands,
Paintbrush hands?
maybe. And then you got yeah, that's kind of what they look like.
Right? They kind of look like paintbrushes.
I could see that.
Well, we'll call it paintbrush hands. If not, then you guys let us know if you like fountain pen hands better. But
I don't know. I just came
regardless,
up with the first thing that it looked like to me. It looks like a
I
fountain pen.
mean, it's not bad. What you're saying is not bad. You're not bad. But very cool watch. I'm actually excited for this piece because I know some people teased it on Wind Up at Wind Up today in Chicago. Looks like some of the people that were in attendance with Benris went out on like a little dive excursion, and a gentleman who's been on the show before. You guys know him as Tom. He's kind of our resident dive expert,
By
constantly
the
doing the
way,
diving thing.
by the way, Emmy nominated now. In case I don't know if you saw that,
No,
he got Emmy nominated for his work on Poker Face, so that's cool.
no
A
way.
guest on our show has been nominated for an Emmy, my friend.
That's amazing. Okay, all right, we'll have to. That's pretty awesome. I
Big
hope he
ups, Tom.
wins. Yeah, yeah, that's when you know you've arrived. That's amazing. But so he was there, and I think they took out like a boat trip around Lake Michigan, and I think Benris and the team and some of the people from Warning Wound who are certified like took it diving.
Neat.
And I was following his stories, and I don't know if they're still there where you can see it, but there was definitely a snapshot of the ultra deep underwater on the NATO strap. So it looks like it's coming out. Either it's been officially launched or teased. But this is a very cool watch to come back. So for those of you who are not familiar with Benris, this is one of those zombie brands that was resurrected a few years ago. They started out with kind of some old kind of new age pieces that they brought back. Then they really hit the market and got some good pushing around their Type 1 and Type 2, which were basically versions of the dive watches that were supplied to the U.S. Navy during the 1970s and 1980s. And they were specifically worn by UDT teams. So these are very classic, asymmetrical case divers. If you see the design, you'll immediately recognize it because it was copied by so many different brands over the years.
Yeah.
But Benris was really the originator. And this is kind of more of a step back than that. This is more of a 60s style diver. So if you can think of kind of in the same design language as the Longines Legend diver,
Yeah.
it's that dual crown compressor style case with an internal rotating bezel. And I think it's going to look very good.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Caught
Yeah.
that. And then I mean, I guess last but not least, what are we gonna say about this Hublot? First of all, I thought it was some funny. Somebody messaged me that they're like, you should be grateful that they didn't market this as blow dinky, like, but it spelled
Oh God.
BLOT, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, to be infringing on you. I'm like, yeah, what a turn of
Oh,
events.
oh, gotcha, gotcha,
What a
gotcha.
turn of
Yeah.
events.
Yeah. I mean, this whole, yeah, I don't know.
I'll put it to you this way: it's supposed to be a joke, and I still don't really understand it. And for me not to, that means it's not a very good one.
So, I mean, you know the whole story of the inspiration, right? For the Hublot.
I mean, I know the service watch.
Yeah, I mean,
I
so
know
that's
the
kind of
I know
that's
there's
kind of where
not
the
for
whole thing.
sale, and now there's not for resale.
Yeah, so basically, and and I'm so sad our buddy Cole got dragged into this because uh, they did like a whole article about the not for sale watch, like the actual service one. So Hublot's been doing this for many, many, many years, and basically at one point in time, they were like some cheap quartz watches. And slowly they've changed the design language and everything like that over the years to basically up it to more of a modern style Hublot. Well, I mean, they've always said on the case somewhere or whatever, not for sale because it's not a sale watch. It was a loaner, by the brand to you while your watch is being serviced. So the thing that always, begs the question to me is like, how do you get these watches? Like, 'cause there's people that personally own one. Like, I know the guy, from what's his face, oh gosh, the other podcast is in Austin. I'm blanking completely.
Watch cringe?
Yes, Watch Cringe. Like one of the guys from Watch Cringe has one of these.
Oh,
He has a not for sale Hublot. Now his is a little bit more of an older version, but he's got one. And the one that Cole is wearing in the article for Rudinky came out today, I guess, is more of the new version. But essentially, they made these watches and they were giving them away for service. But my question is like, how do you get them? Do you just like abandon your watch because like if you take it, like you have this not for sale Hublot? But Like, did you abandon your Hublot? Like,
Or do
just
like
don't
they
get to turn?
retire them at some point?
I don't know. That's the thing I don't understand. You know, and it's like,
Well,
who
do you
would
know?
ever
Is it? Do you
sell
know? Do
this?
you know if it's Brendan or Jay?
Is Jay?
Because I was gonna
Yes.
say Brendan's dad listens to this. We could always hit him up. He'll tell us the answer.
Oh God, no! Oh no, not
No, when
again.
if they're up here again for Wind Up New York, I'll ask in person.
Yeah, well, just hit him in the DMs and tell him to bring it so he can at least see it. Because I know he's posted it before, and it's just it's very basic looking watch. At least the version that he has, like the one that Cole has in this article, it looks much better than that. It looks much more like a contemporary Hublot. It looks normal. But again, my first question is like, how do you even get this watch in the first place? Because like, do you just steal it, or do you leave your watch, or do you have to have a personal connection with a retailer, or with a boutique that's just like, yeah, just take it and don't ask questions because you're an important person. Like, I don't know.
That's what I figured.
Regardless, at the end of the day, they end up in the hands of collectors, and it started this whole thing of like, hey, this was watches that were listed as not for sale. And then Houdinki decided to Houdinkify everything and then make this production run of Hublots. Thank God they're like 7 grand and not like $25,000.
I mean, would it
Because I know
surprise me
that,
at this point? Not really.
no, but I mean, I think that they know they would have gotten ratioed to oblivion because people already have such a big stigma with Hublot. And you know that. You know that 100%.
Hmm.
So for them to like, could you imagine if they made that watch and they're like, all right, guys, it's $25,000. Everyone would have been like, you guys are funny. Definitely not going to happen. And then Houdinki's left with all these Hublots in their inventory that they can't sell. So, that said, let's check the status on the inventory because I'm curious to see where they are. Because typically, if they're not all sold out in the first weekend, typically it means that they didn't resonate. I found that that was a pretty
Yeah,
decent
I'll be
litmus
honest.
test.
I haven't even checked. Like it's not that important to me, and I
I mean,
just
it's not. I'm just looking at it from like a curiosity standpoint because I think this is the first time that Houdinki's ever done anything with Hublot. All right.
is it. I honestly, again, it
I
would be
I mean,
one of those things that would go right over my head because it would be a I would just scroll right past it. So even
yeah,
if they did, I wouldn't really know.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's the case. But now I can't even find it. So maybe they really did get rid of it. Maybe they got. I mean, get rid of it. Maybe they got rid of it fast. Let's see. Um, yeah, I'm scrolling down here. I'm looking at all the watches. I'm just realizing that we're missing so many that we're supposed to be talking about. Oh man. Okay, let's see. Is it still available? It is sold out.
No surprise.
Wow. Okay, so
Even
I
at
wonder what it is on.
seven G's.
Yeah, well, oh, eight AG
Sorry,
7900. But again, I
rounded
will
it
say
down.
this though. I will say this. It's a fusion, so it's not a horrific design. It's not overly garish, which I appreciated. It's 38 millimeters too, which I think you would have appreciated. Less than 10 mil thick. So I think for most people by Hublot standards, it's actually a wearable timepiece. Now, am I going to run out and spend 8 grand on a collaboration Hublot for Houdinki? No, definitely not going to do that. But not a horrible watch. But yeah, so there's that. We also forgot the freaking skipper. How do we forget that?
Oh, you know why? Because you know what it is. I lose track of the week to week when things get
I
released
know, I
earlier
know.
in the week, and then especially if I make a joke about them, I feel like I've already talked about them, and I forget where I'm speaking about things, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, well, so that went up early by
Last
accident.
week.
Somebody jumped the gun on that one,
Yeah.
and we
Tell
saw it. We got some screenshots of it, and then all of a sudden it was gone. And meanwhile, we're sharing it in the group chat. We're like, no, no, this was here. This is proof. This
Where'd it
was here,
go?
right?
Where'd it go?
There was a new skipper, God damn it. And so,
I swear it's here.
right. And so then I alluded to it, and a bunch of other people were like, I'm glad. I thought I thought I was going crazy. So we have a new skipper. It's in the glass box configuration, right?
Sick. So
And
sick.
you know, and Tag put out some fancy smanchy dinner up in Manhattan that I didn't get invited to, unfortunately.
And
Um,
we called it. We called it
mm,
again. Yep. Just like a crystal ball calling all these new releases.
but so it's
Okay.
not necessarily the skipper era that Hodinky released, right?
No.
It's a
No, no.
little more aggressive, a little more modern, and I don't know if that works in their favor or not because I mean, let's face it, everybody likes that skipper that Hodinky released because it's a
Yeah.
vintage callback. This one is a very
Yeah.
modern skipper. I don't know how people are going to react to it. I mean, it's cool. It's a watch that everybody likes, which is good. Um,
Well, there's one thing with liking the watch, and there's like another thing with liking the idea of the watch.
Right. And
And I think,
that's where I don't know if those two will meet in the middle.
and that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, I think, I think it's funky enough for me that if I was gonna run out and get an Altavia, I'm sorry, and a Carrera, that maybe if it was gonna be my only Carrera, that's what I would buy over the other two models that were released earlier this year. You know what I mean? Because it's just funky enough that I'm like, you know what? Why the hell not? This is cool. Um, but I don't know, man. Like, we'll see. I'm just glad it's not like a only watch thing because I mean that was kind of the other thing too. We were talking in the chat, like it was released for only watch and then all these things. Like, no, 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 it's actually for you know the lineup.
Which is good. I mean, I appreciate them
I
not releasing a
Me
one
too,
of one
me
and
too.
not allowing people
Because
who
that
are
would
big
just piss
fans of
everybody.
this. Right,
That would have
yeah.
just pissed everybody off again. Because they're like, oh, we finally got a skipper, and it's like gone and selling for like 20 grand, and you're like, oh god, just kill me now. And the last thing that we forgot to mention was the new Longines flagship.
Oh, that's a nice watch.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a fantastic piece. Yeah, man. I mean, no, I'm super excited that the industry did this, and I'm glad that that Longines is doing something that's cool again. Because I've always been a big fan of the flagship model, and now that they're doing it with the moon phase, I think that is fantastic.
Yeah, you know I'm a big moon phase person, so this was
Oh,
a cool drop for me personally.
it's so beautiful. It's just so elegant. I mean, now granted, it's going to be a little bit thicker, but it's just so elegant. I love the lugs. I love the Dauphine hands. I think it looks fantastic in the silver. 38.5 millimeters. I think it's a phenomenal watch. So I was super excited about that. I did not want to forget it because this is something that I think this is for most people going to be a flash in the pan type situation where it's a dress watch and it's like whoosh, we just quickly glance over it on social media. But I definitely want to call attention to this because it's not an old watch. This is a revamping of the Longines flagship now with a pointer date moon phase, and I think it's a phenomenal timepiece. Oh, by the way, they upgraded it for with silicone and gave it some anti-magnetic properties in a package that's just over $3,000. So for me, this is a very doable timepiece.
And you're getting so it's under 39 millimeters and it's only 12.4 thick, so not terrible.
Not terrible. I mean, I'm actually surprised about that because the profile photos on Instagram actually make it look like it's fatter than
It
that.
it does. It does. I mean, hell, we just talked about 38 by 15. So
Yes, we did, didn't we?
we
It's a
did.
thick boy.
We
But
did.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think it looks good. I've always been a fan of the Longines blue. I think they do a very nice shade of blue.
such a good blue.
And then you have sort of an opaline silver and then a sunray silver. And I think the one with the gold accents, the gold definitely warms up the silver a good
Mm-hmm.
amount,
Mm-hmm.
and it works well with the gold on the moon phase.
Yeah.
I think it's a again. I've always been a fan of the JLC moons, and this is sort of in that
Well,
aesthetic.
somebody literally on the comments on Houdinki, and it's funny that you just said that because I was literally just reading it, and someone was like, JLC gone bonkers lately with a 40% increase. Would prefer 7,000 luxury holidays with family over that. So it's kind of like, instead of trying to go out and buy a JLC, which is an astronomical price, why not get something like this and spend $3,000 on it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then, I mean, realistically, even beyond that, I mean, typically watches like this you would be able to get for a very nice price secondary. I mean, used, not secondary, used. Um, like I know even a lot of their popular models, like the Avigation Big Eye and stuff, very cool
Mm-hmm.
watches. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can get a very nice deal on those used, so something to look out for. I mean, it's a very nice watch, man. It reminds me of the watch that Doctor Strange wears. I know that's a JLC, but it the look of those are great, but they are super expensive no matter who you go to for them,
Yes.
unless it's what's their face? What's the brand with the $10,000 perpetual calendar?
Oh, you're talking about Bon Mercier?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So brands like those that make similar watches, but they're kind of homage. Like, yeah, you can get
Yeah.
those at lower price points. But I mean, Longines a household name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
So something to be said for that.
Bro, I literally forgot one more watch. I know
What's
I'm
that?
taking way too much time. Did you see the Vulcan quietly relaunch the Cricket diver?
I didn't.
Yes.
Why would that not be bigger?
Dude, I don't know. Dave Fertel is the one that wrote about it, and I was like reading it, and I was in an area where I couldn't send it to you because I had really bad Wi-Fi. But yeah, they relaunched the Cricket diver. There was a lot of stuff that came this week. I'm just thinking about like, man, we missed a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't have too many of the specs on it yet, but and maybe it's gone now because maybe it was another release that they were
Oh, I'm
supposed to
looking
not
at it
release.
on a monochrome right now.
You see it?
Volcane Cricket Nautical.
Yes.
The return of the alarm dive watch.
I'm like, and we called it.
We did ask for this one
We asked for
specifically.
this one.
Specifically, yeah.
We asked for this one specifically. The skipper, we were kind of like, we hope it comes back because that would be kind of cool, but it was kind of like a 50-50 if we thought it would. But this one we definitely called. I know I wanted this one to come back. And now I probably have to put my money where my mouth is because I said I would probably get it because it's just too freaking cool. So let's see. There's a dealer in town here that carries Volcane, oddly enough, so maybe I
Wow.
can get a discount and pick up a new piece. But yeah, this is a very, very cool watch. And one that's so under the radar. It's just one of the most funky, unusual complications ever made, and definitely very, very cool.
Wow. You want to talk thick boy?
Yeah, she's a thickie.
17.35
Yeah,
millimeters.
yeah. It's because that
Ooh.
double dome sapphire. It's a double dome sapphire. Plus, you have to account too. You have to have the resonance chamber because on the back you have the resonance case back that has like the cutouts to amplify the alarm function underwater.
Right.
So you need to have that
Yeah. Some
as
spacing,
well.
some buffer.
So there. It's literally impossible to do it any other way. But it's crazy. It's a hand wound movement. Not weird.
Yeah. I also like the price is to be confirmed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They don't even tell you. So it's either I'll end up with that or I'll just go get a Volcano Antique and just be like, all right, 1650 is not so bad. You guys take trade-ins.
No, very reasonable.
I'm like, yeah, I got a nice Oris Diver 65. If you guys want that, it's been recently serviced.
No, this is cool. It's very cool. I really like the dial. I really like the. It almost looks like a radar with all the circles and everything.
Yeah, man, it's the bees. It's the bees knees. And it's so cool because you can like set diving thresholds and You can like set the red tipped hand to like, your time interval for diving. So like let's say you want to dive for 45 minutes, you can literally set it and it will alarm off at 45 minutes to let you know that you need to start making your return or whatever. And then the little graduations on the dial are your different type of decompression stops based on your time and based on your depth. So it's actually like basically a predecessor to what would be a modern day dive computer. It's pretty nasty.
It's pretty damn cool.
Completely unfunctional, but pretty nasty.
All right then, my friend. Um, I guess we'll squeeze a little topic in this week.
Just a little bit. God, these new releases are killing us these days.
Yeah. Well, so I kind of just thought up this topic randomly because that's what I do when I'm sitting in 3 hours worth of traffic. Uh, so a lot of times we'll do these challenges that'll be watches under X amount or
Mm-hmm.
however many watches and try to fit them in a category. Well, in just thinking about sort of the landscape of watches and the economy and stuff like that and everything. Uh, we talk a lot of times. I mean, last week we talked about buying your first luxury watch, and
Mm-hmm.
we we pay homage to the beginners at times, but also just the people who like to have fun in the shallow end of the pool, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I was thinking was instead of necessarily putting a limit on it, I was trying to think of building a collection for a minimal amount of money, but like also trying to capture like maximum amount of like swag for it.
Yeah.
Like trying to come up with some like getting some watches that aren't just, oh well, I'm just gonna throw F91 in here because or whatever it might be because it's inexpensive
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
why not, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
that serves a purpose and that's it.
It's
Like,
God tier.
right.
God tier.
So
Like,
instead,
okay, all right, let's calm
my
down.
my chipmunk looking friend, uh, instead you'll have some stuff that is, I guess, inexpensive in the realm of things, but also like, okay, this also has some chops to it and like
Yeah.
a little flair. Maybe it has some neat features and things like that that you might not be getting from your little old digital Casio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Which is the challenge.
Right. Well,
Which
and that's
is the
kind of why I was like,
challenge.
it is a bit of a challenge, right? Like if I want to come up with some watches that are bring some stuff to the table that might not be just the bare bones, but I also I'm not trying to break the bank given the times we live in. Like if I'm somebody who's starting out or I'm somebody who's trying to branch out a collection a little bit, maybe I got my one watch, maybe it's your Seiko, your Hamilton, or whatever it might be, and now you're like, I would like a couple others, but like this one already, I'm already uncomfortable with the price of this one, probably as we
Yeah.
all were when we got that
Yeah.
one. Like, how can I move out from this without feeling like really like I'm getting myself into trouble here?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about either watches that I've bought or I've looked at or I've had my eye on that sort of fall into this category because me, I'm always looking for a fun watch. I mean, I think we've beat it to death. I think that our what we call the well, we have a couple different names for it, but the Res KX, I think that's just that right now. I mean, it sucks. It sucks so bad that is a it's not a limited release, but it's a
It's a hard to get
it's
release.
only by location, right? It's only released in a certain area, and I think that was a terrible, terrible move on
Mm-hmm.
Seiko's part. And I hope they're going to branch the newer line out a little more. Now that they have a few extra models, maybe they'll bring them to the States or Europe or anywhere that you can actually just buy them like a normal human being, as opposed to like having to have your friend halfway around the world send it to you. Like,
Yes. Yes, I
and I
know.
know a bunch of our listeners have done it. And I mean, even then you're all in it like 180, $190.
Yeah.
And like we said, for our movement, right? I get it. It's probably a cheap to make case, cheap strap. Okay. But like you're getting less in other watches with cheaper movements. I'm not saying a 4 hour movement costs an arm and a leg, but it's definitely more than your run of the mill quartz movement,
Yeah, absolutely.
and like, I mean, personally, like I said, I wear this thing most days. It's a ton of fun.
And it's a little tank. I was at a meetup today with some buddies, and I brought the Res KX, and there was the first time they had ever seen it, and they're like, "This is freaking awesome. How do I get one?" And I was like, "Well, you got to talk to my buddy." And so I put him in contact with our buddy that did it before, but apparently they've been like trying to have an ongoing conversation for a couple months now, and it's like he just can't find them. So we'll have to circle back and see if we can maybe get something coming. But these little Resi Seikos, man, they're not easy to find. That is for sure.
But like I said, for the money, like it's a no brainer buy. You know what I mean? For a fun watch, for a
100%.
summer watch, for a what if you like going to the beach, you like fishing, you like going to hanging out in the pool.
You
Like,
just
yeah,
like wearing a watch. I mean
no,
that's the
no
other thing
doubt. But I'm
too.
just saying, like this has so many applications given who makes it and what it's made out of,
Yeah,
and
for
its
sure.
price point, that like it's such a no brainer compared to what you get nowadays for a few bucks. And again,
Yeah.
yeah, you could just wear your Casio in the pool. Fine, cool, okay, I get it. But I mean, for me, this just has a little more style than a square, you know, ho hum metallic looking case with some digital
Yeah,
numerals on it. Like, to me, this
I
has a little
agree.
more chops. There's a little more style to this. Like, I can throw this on, a NATO and or something, and it becomes a little more like streetwear. Whereas I don't know. The Casio, listen, it works. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it, but they're just two different worlds to me,
Yeah, for sure.
right? Something about the analog style is just a little cooler than digital style to me. I don't know what it is. That's
Uh,
my piece. But again, I don't know how you can really beat the Res KX at this point. Like, it's
no, I
like,
just
listen, okay,
the hardest part is just getting one.
yeah,
That's just the reality.
right. And if you can get past a push pull crown and not wet your pants over it, you're good money, right?
Oh my God, it's so funny, but it's true.
I mean, I've done nothing but laps in the pool and chase the kids around, and toss them off the diving board with it, and no stopping this thing yet. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to me, that's like the ultimate pick right there. I have a couple other ones, but
Well, Emma, I kind of hear, I want to hear what you got for the whole run.
all right. I'm also, and this is one that I have purchased as well. Um, the Timex Expedition North solar.
Yeah,
It's a solar movement Timex. It's a 36 millimeter field watch. The one that I specifically got, the one that I like best, is it's black, it's coated, it's
yeah.
it's got sort of the blacked out look with. I mean, they're not quite cream hands or anything, but they have a little. I guess they're probably C3 or something like that, but
Hmm, hmm.
they're sort of like an off cream color, and it's just cool. It's just a cool blacked out sporty watch. We talked about how the blacked out watches have sort of come back a little bit, and if you're going for something maybe a little different look than your just standard steel,
Yeah.
it's something cool. It's a little stealth. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the sort of Hamilton analog to this, where it's a little bit more expensive and it's made of titanium, and it's going to run you a bit much, but for the price, again, you're getting a pretty neat little watch. I mean, this one actually does have a screw down crown, so that's cool. Screw down crown and case back, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you're getting solar movement, so it's kind of no frills, pick it up and go, right? Just
And
leave it on.
there is a mechanical version too of this one, right?
There
Like
is,
there's
I
yeah.
think it's a little bigger.
Okay,
I
okay.
think it's 41. But yeah, if you're
Sure.
into that, go nuts. Like I said, I just prefer the smaller size. I think
Yeah.
they just fit and wear a lot more, you know, a lot better for my wrist personally. But uh, if you're into the bigger stuff, yeah, go nuts in that respect. But yeah, to me that's a lot of fun. Another one that I've mentioned on here before are the Seiko NSXS line. They come in blue. They come in, I think, a black, a gray, a silver. But like, these are kind of, I mean, if you look at them, you squint your eyes real quick, it's almost like a
Oh yeah,
super
yeah, yeah,
cheap
yeah,
Seiko
yeah, yeah,
OP
yeah,
looking watch. The bracelets are very, very cheaply made. I mean, they do make aftermarket bracelets for it. And,
yeah.
I think it also looks good on pretty much just a straight link, straight bar Jubilee. Looks really good on it. But again, for the price, you're getting an automatic watch. You can get these for like $100 on Jumbo Shop.
The good old days. The good
But
old days.
but you're getting the older Seiko 5 badge, not the funny S.
Yeah.
Day and date. The lume's good.
Well, it's Seiko,
It's
right? The
it's a
Luma
good
Bright
it's a
is
good
amazing.
looking watch, right? I mean, obviously, again, a little derivative, but that's fine. Um, but like a real nice piece for again somebody who maybe doesn't have a watch or somebody who wants something that they can wear a little more versatile, a little more dressy.
Yeah.
Why not? I think it's a winner. And then there's
Heck yeah.
one that's I just think it's neat. I mean, again, I try to mix up sort of the looks of the watches and the case materials and things like that. I'm sure you've seen this one, the Swatch, the Clearly series, and obviously they use the word clearly. It's not ironic; it's more obvious than anything. But it's a clear watch. It's almost like the jelly
Yeah, it's like
Casios,
well, it's like the jelly, it's like the jelly swatch
the
that I have.
jellyfish, yeah, the jellyfish watch. But so
Yeah.
this one's the one that one of the ones I like is the Clearly New Gent, and so it's got a blue, red, and yellow
Yes.
handset so that you can
This
follow them
watch is
around the
awesome.
dial, which I like because my biggest gripe with things like skeletonized watches or see-through watches is that they become illegible. This one will never be that because it has colored hands. I mean, you can see the battery and the movement through it,
It's
which is
sick.
a neat little novelty. And obviously, there's a lot of plastic components going on here, but again,
Yes.
it's $90.
Yeah, man.
So, and they have a few different models. There's the Clearly Gent, Clearly Bold,
Yes.
Clearly Black.
So the one that I have is the clearly gent. So
Okay,
the difference is the new gent is 42 millimeters.
right.
The gent is 34, 35 millimeters.
Okay, so that's a little more of like the classic
Correct. So
swatch when
so
you think
that is
about
literally the original swatch size.
right, like the people who would wear like when people you see like the old days where people would wear more than one swatch, like they would stack them or they would sort of just mess around
Right.
with them. Like that's sort of the classic one that I think of.
Did I ever show you
Classic
that I
size.
have this watch?
I don't think you did, otherwise I would have referenced it. No, yeah, there it is. That's the one.
It is so cool. It is so cool. So my wife doesn't listen to this, but
This was hers. I stole it.
no, it was one of those things. It was like I was celebrating a birthday earlier this year, and there was a watch store. They didn't have any moon swatch in it at the time, and this watch was always something that I knew that I wanted to own, being a collector, just because I feel like with Swatch now, like if I'm going to collect pieces, I want to collect things that are um a little bit different. And this particular Swatch came out very early on in the 80s, and they nicknamed it jellyfish because you could see through it, right?
Hmm.
And it was like a cult classic, super collectible, and the original versions are like ridiculously rare. And they have a lot of problems because the old straps back then they used to yellow really bad and all this stuff, and they're kind of hard to fix and service and all this stuff. So I knew I always wanted to have one, and it was my birthday, and they had just gotten the new versions in. I was like, you know what, screw it. I think it was $80, and I bought it. And my wife's like, "Did you buy a Swatch?" I'm like, "Yes," and she goes,
And
"Why?" Like she's like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't know." It's like, "Well, it's my birthday," and then she's like, "But why?" I was like, she's like, "You don't even wear Swatch." I'm like, "Yeah, but I wanted to wear this one." Okay. So it just comes down to it. I was like, you know what? I'm to avoid a confrontation. I was like, I bought it for our kid.
Oh, nice.
I
Very
was like,
nice.
I bought it for our kid. It's a limited edition. She'll get to wear a cool watch at some point that I'm saving for her. But it's a fantastic piece. And honestly, bro, for you, I would definitely go with the gent size because that's kind of more in your vein.
Yeah, it is.
But it's such a cool watch. It's a little Bauhaus with the primary colors, and all that stuff. But I absolutely love this watch, and I've been saving it in its box because it is a beast. And plus, it's technically stamped with my birth date on the warranty
Oh,
card,
very nice.
which I think is also kind of cool and neat. So eventually, when my daughter does get this watch, it'll literally have been purchased on Dad's birthday.
That's very neat.
So there you go.
But yeah, those are sort of the driving ideas behind my picks. Like that, I was looking for a few things, something different, a few things a little more up my alley and classic. But like these are like if I had these and I was like, if I was my college self, like I would roll with these. I can get
Yeah,
around with that. Without
yeah,
feeling
man.
like I'm selling myself short. Like I would still feel like I'm putting my best foot forward.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I took this concept a little bit differently. I was trying to find kind of the best value um per watch criteria. So I was kind of trying to figure out different like complications and stuff and all these different watches. So I tried to keep it as inexpensive as I possibly could while
Oh, all
still
right.
retaining a little bit of value here. So I kind of went through the gambit of different things and I made some concessions. So the first one that I have here is a watch from Boulder Supply Company. And for those of you who are not familiar
Okay.
with
That
Boulder,
that's a different pick.
it's a different pick. I was trying to do stuff that I haven't seen anybody pick before. I was trying to do things that were concessions. Like, so if it had to be a little bit more money, what was the trade off for me getting? What was the value that I was getting in my selection? So the particular bowler that I chose is the Venture Green Star. And it's a very unusual green because it's kind of like the Oris like Kermit green, but then it
Okay.
mixes it in the bezel with like a forest green and then like a kind of like a an olive drab green. So it's a mixture of a bunch of different greens. But this is a diver. It's 200 meters water resistant, 38 millimeters, but it's full titanium case. And it's not the most inexpensive watch. It's 440 bucks. But I figured that if you're gonna go all out and you're gonna go with, let's say, your one watch and it's gonna do everything, then do it in something that is a unique package. It is very cool, can be a little sporty, but still can be understated, and do it in a material that's not common in a mechanical watch at this price point. And so I was like, you know what? This I think is cool. So 60 click bezel, loomed bezel, diver's watch, everything like that. 4 o'clock crown, but it is a Boulder Venture in the green star color.
There's a lot of green on this. I mean, I would say the
But I
dial
like it.
the
I
dial's
like
kind
it
of like
though.
pea soup
Yeah.
green. Yeah,
The
but it's
official
def
color code is called coral green. Coral
it's an interesting name. I
green.
don't know. I don't know if I've seen a ton of green coral in my day, but
I have literally never seen green coral in my life, and
I
I've
was to
done
say I
diving
usually
in the
see
ocean, so
pink, orange,
I'm just
blue, like white.
it's like, hey, like, people are like, yeah, it sounds cool. Like, let's just go with that.
Let's
I'm like,
go
all
with
right,
it.
cool.
Pastel sounds
But
nerdy.
I just think it's a funky watch. I think it's cool.
I've honestly never seen this before, so that is news
And
to
I
me.
have
And
a
I mean,
Boulder.
449 bucks for a titanium watch really isn't bad either.
And it's titanium full bracelet. That's the other thing. So it's not even just a case, it's a full bracelet in titanium
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well, which
even
I'm
though
like, okay,
those newer citizens are like almost double that.
exactly. And I was like, okay, I can see again, it's not cheap. Still let's call it $500. It's not cheap, but in the realm of mechanical watch, diver, full titanium case and bracelet, there's just not a lot out there. And so I think I was like, you know what, I could get away with that. That to me seems cool.
That's a neat pick. Something way, way out of left field. We like that. We don't always want to talk about the same stuff, even though we do. But
I know, it's just like one of those things. Like I just want to push it a little bit further. I want to see if I can make it go a little bit further. Okay, so that was kind of my first pick. Then I have a little bit more of a utilitarian pick in the sense that, we've talked about this watch before. This is certainly well within, a good price point. It's $259. And this is the Timex Marlin Automatic 40. It's the new coloration that they did for this year, with kind of the funky numerals in both the blue sunray or the gray or the green sunray
Okay.
dials. This is just it's a classic pick for me if I'm gonna go dress, and this is gonna be my one watch to rule them all, if you will. And this is my only price point. I would shuck the Bambinos. I would shuck all the other versions. This is the watch that I would get because I think the styling and the finishing of this watch makes it hit far heavier in its weight class than anything else in competition with it. I think
Okay.
this is a really, really, really nice watch, and I'm so inclined to just buy this for myself. I freaking love this watch, and I don't know which color I would choose, the green or the blue. Both of them are equally beautiful. It would literally be a coin flip because they're just nice. They're very, very good looking watches. So there's that. And then kind of my last one, I wanted to really challenge myself. I was like, okay, divers hard. I mean, but there's so many divers out there, and you can go. And I didn't want to go quartz. I was like, okay, you can go quartz diver and keep it super equitable, super low price. But let's see if we can do something different. Let's do mechanical, right? And let's do
Okay.
mechanical dress, mechanical diver. The last one I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could figure out was mechanical chronograph, which is not easy. And specifically one that's often not discussed. And the watch that I chose for this particular segment is the Hemel Airfoil Full Loom Ivory Dial. So it's a long name,
Yeah.
but it's the Hemel Airfoil, and it's got the full loom dial variation. It's a chronograph that comes in a mechanical at $499. So only a little bit more than the titanium, but this is a really good looking watch. I really like it a lot. I think I would pick one up if I had the opportunity. The dial is full loom, so how could you not want that? So it's a very different take on the chrono. It's vintage inspired, syringe hands, kind of that like old school, fly back kind of, look to it. Um, and it's a manual one chrono. It's a ST 1901 caliber, so same as the movement we were talking about in the Baltics we just
Right.
reviewed.
Yeah, that's Siegel.
That Seagull movement's a classic, it's tried and true. And this is not your like traditional like dress chrono. This is a military chrono. And it's different to me too because like this movement's used a lot in like was it the 1963, the Seagull 1963,
Yep.
that like classic, but I don't like all of the like the characters and stuff like that on the dial. I think it's a little bit too distracting. So for me, this is more of like a traditional military watch that I would feel comfortable wearing. Plus, with the full loom dial, I don't own anything in my collection that is like that. We've talked about this at length before. Like I'm looking for a full loom dial, something. I think this would hit home.
Yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I want to say this dude is from like literally the town over from me.
Really?
Well, from my hometown that I grew up in.
The company itself?
I swear, I think it's Hemel. It's definitely one with an H. I'm pretty sure it was Hemel. Is based out of like Manhasset, New York.
Let me see.
Give it a Google. I think it's Hemel.
It could very well be. Contact.
Well, that's where their LLC is based out of.
It's probably them.
I think I am correct, to be honest. But yeah, so I grew up in a little town called Port Washington, New York, and this is
Hmm.
right next door. It's almost the exact same town, to be honest. And yeah, so that's neat.
Have you seen this brand before?
I have. I don't know much about it, but I have seen it.
I just think this stuff is cool. They make a bunch of like divers and stuff like that, and their price points are all very, very accessible. I think they really cater to a lot of like military crowd for sure, depending on their design. But they've done some pretty cool stuff. And I don't know, just like of all the watches out there, Like to do a mechanical chronograph with kind of a military history. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, it is cool, and like I said, it's something different. I mean, it's kind of what makes this whole. It's kind of the point of the exercise here is that you can find stuff that's sort of up your alley. You can find stuff that's very mainstream, or you can find stuff that's out in left field, and you're like, hey, like here's a realistic option. I don't know if anybody else on Earth would have picked this, but here you go. You know what I mean? I don't know if everybody's looking for a pea soup titanium diver, but here it is.
I mean, why not go full send, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, my friend. All right. Anything else on your list there?
That I think is it, my friend. Yeah, that's it.
All
I
right
was
then.
trying. Actually, I in the air of full disclosure, I did have the Hydra from Laurier on there as well as my GMT category. But we already talked about that, so it's good.
Felt too on the nose.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we don't need to talk about it again. But yes, it was my GMT pick. So since it was fresh in my mind, it was launched last week, kind of in lieu for or in leading up to wind up. Um, so there you go.
All right then. All right, we can I guess put the official stamp on this one then.
There you go. Stamp
Episode
the room.
90 episodes in the books. Crazy enough.
Oh my
Can't
gosh.
believe it.
No, man, it's insane. I literally can't. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it today this morning. I was like, 90 episodes. Holy crap. What have we been doing? But I love it, man. I love it. And I'm glad I get to do it with my best bud over here. So
On
it's
the
been
weekly.
fun.
Yeah.
On the weekly, baby.
All right. So